Okay, here's an interesting question from Russ. He's not expecting this, but he is curious if it's possible. Is there any way to track existing equipment, so printers and stuff like that, that are under a lease agreement, and or do you guys track the age of, like how long it's been in your system? Are those metrics that they can see or get access to? Is that stuff that you guys have thought about implementing into your system, or do you have it already?
Well, I mean, once you start monitoring, it's going to keep a history. It keeps a 2-year history, and you can actually, again, almost everything in this system can be quickly modified or changed from the default setting. So it's going to keep a 2-year history. In regards to, I think maybe what they were talking about is, okay, that you've got a customer who has maybe a big copier that's under a lease program, and it's currently being so it's including all the supplies, everything that piece of equipment needs. With that type of scenario, yes, you would mark that and identify it and have a date set 6 months out prior to the lease expiring to approach the customer and say, hey, your lease is coming up in 6 months. Here's some other options. These are what we think you can do. Because as a DocuWise partner, whether you're dealing with a multinational customer or a small shop, you can provide any service any copier dealer can. We have access to 3 separate leasing companies, most of the OEMs. We can get copier equipment, etc. So from that perspective, and you could also monitor a printer in the print environment to kind of confirm that the copier guy isn't counting more pages than are there. You can be monitoring that even if you're not dealing with it, just if for no other reason than to confirm the number of pages being printed. There wouldn't be any historical data that can be generated prior to the date of installing the DCA, but going forward, you could keep a complete historical data, and you can also set it to notify you of when different pieces of equipment's warranties do expire, when they're scheduled for regular maintenance and those type of issues.
Mm. And once you sign up, the monitoring software is free, so why not? I mean, if you're on their network anyway, you should be monitoring this stuff regardless of whether they're paying you for it or not.
I had a MSP last week install 4 customers, sent pricing over. He was the guy that had the price at Staples where they were paying $170 and our cost was $80, and he didn't even ask his customer. He just installed the DCA, called up one of his customers and said, hey, I think you're probably paying a little bit too much. What are you paying? He picked out one of his equipment. That was the one that he was buying at Staples. They just discussed this over the phone. The guy goes, I can get that for you for $140. Want me to start shipping it to you? The guy goes, yeah. So he went. So you can really kind of see what you can go into your customer base if you're already managing their network because you have access and permissions, and you can see what your potential is out there before you even talk to your customers.
Yeah. Chris and I were chuckling about that too when we were first testing the DocuWise software. We were like, all right, so who's our first victim? And just went and installed it on a network because there's no impact. I mean, there's just no impact. It doesn't steal data.
Well,
it doesn't do anything.
You'll get an instant inventory of all the print devices. You'll get that quick quote, and you'll also start seeing how many pages they're printing. So in a few days, you can kind of extrapolate that out. So you can start to get a quick idea of, okay, what have I got here? How do I approach this customer? So you can literally, you can show up at your customer and already kind of know what their needs are, what their volumes are, kind of how you're going to pitch them, get an idea of what they're already paying. I mean, it's just an amazing position to be in to then get that business.
Yeah, and
I think this kind of dovetails in with Kaseya. I know we've got maybe some non-Kaseya people on the call as well, and I don't know those products as well as I do Kaseya, obviously. But Kaseya has some limitations when it comes to monitoring printers, and so part of this is, I mean, definitely making money where you didn't have it before. I mean, this is free found money. I think there's probably maybe a few of you that are making some money on supplies, but I know in our business we hardly sell toner and ink at all, because most of the time those people are going to the big box stores or wherever to ordering it from a catalog to get it. Now we can get in there and we can make money. But besides that, we also, as managed service providers, we now have the ability to actually monitor printers, actually get alarms for things that happen on your printers, and be able to respond to that. And those can just be as simple as emails. No, they're not, they're not integrated directly into the RMM tool. This is sort of like its own little RMM tool. But we can get that information, and the reports that you can generate from the DCA, where you can actually, on a monthly basis, print a report that shows how many pages they printed on each of their printers from the month before, and you could maybe include that in a report and increase your value to the client. Now, there's some, I think, Keith, if I'm correct, I think there's some limitations when you have the beacon with some of the local printers at this point in terms of sucking some of that page usage out of, right? We don't get quite as much information as we do from the network printers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the difference is that the local agent beacon is reading the workstation of the laptop, the information about the printer at that point as compared to reading the print MIB. We do actually have a new version coming out, and it's supposed to be done in about 30 days that will resolve that and be reading the print MIB. But as of today, if you have your laptop connected to a printer and you pop open your little print device icon and it shows you your ink levels, that's what the local agent beacon is reading, whereas the DCA on the network is actually reading the print MIB of each individual printer. But we do have a new version coming out here shortly that will be reading the print MIB in both versions, so they will have the exact same abilities.